Okay, here's a quick intro to our first sample project. It's a shopping list version. It just does a shopping list, a single list. So this is what I call like a level 1 kind of project. It hits all the basic requirements, but it's nothing too, I don't think, complicated. So it's just a Windows form. This would only work on Windows. It wouldn't work on Mac, unfortunately. We'd have to do a web or some other version. It has a list that displays this. Let me just stop and run this real quick so you can see this work. So here's it running. It has a list of items that you can buy. If you double click on an item, it removes it from the list. If you add a new item, and you can say the amount of that item you want, it'll add it to the list. The list is stored in a database, so when you close this and rerun it, it remembers the list. So let's look at this basically. So it has a main program, of course, and a form. This was set up by the template automatically, and this is the form. Inside the form, the code for this, the code has a list controller, and this tries to provide all the interface the buttons try not to have, or all the events here try not to have too much code. They just try to call the list controller to get things in and update the actual form in different places. So here's what basically we have: program goes to the form 1 goes to the list controller, and the list controller accesses a shopping list, and holds a list of shopping items. We also need to write this to the database, so there's a shopping repository that can take shopping items and write them to the database. So those are our main projects here. Shopping list has things like add an item to the shopping list, mark an item as checked, and then get the items. Again, so since this is just a list, all you're basically able to do is add items to the list. So if you look at the shopping list code, the main thing is just a list of shopping items here. And again, we can create the list in a couple ways. We add an item to the list, we can mark an item as checked, and then we can get the unpurchased or unchecked items here. It just loops through, checks if an item is checked, and if not, adds it to the list for that. So that's what the shopping list does. And the list controller uses that and tries to abstract that away. So again, what we're trying to break this down is a couple different classes here. I'm not sure if we really need both the shopping list and list controller, but I wanted to break those up here. So list controller can create shopping items, get items in the list, and mark items as checked here. Now, one of the goals here was to try to add a little bit of abstraction. So although I have a shopping list, shopping items, I also have an interface to that, a list item, and this is what the list controller should use. It can get the ID of an item, get the description of an item, mark an item as checked, and then get if an item is checked. Here, the description is what would be displayed in the list box here, and then mark checked is really what we do when we double click on an item. We mark it checked. So I tried to abstract away what we would do with the items. Didn't do a great job. Again, this is just a level 1 project, so I just tried. Similarly with the database here, we're writing to the database. The list controller uses the interface to this shopping repository, basically doing the CRUD create, write, read activity. So the list repository interface just says what do you have to do to the database. You can create an item, you can read all the items, or you can update one of the items as checked, and you have to give the ID of an item to do that. So that's basically defines the interface to our database here. So this, from this controller to the shopping repository, actually goes through the interface here, and then generally when we pass the shopping item back to the list controller, we try to pass not a shopping item, but we try to do that through this interface list item. It's okay, but it doesn't do great. For example, if I look under list controller, there's some issues. I still create shopping items here. But again, simple project, number of classes, tried to do some single responsibility principles here. I actually put in some tests, uses a couple interfaces, does an okay job. I'll try to go into some more detail in a couple other videos.